Here is a question. Africa is the richest continent on Earth. Gold, oil, diamonds, cobalt, lithium, uranium, 60% of the world's uncultivated farmland, the youngest population on the planet. So answer me this. Why is the richest continent home to the poorest people? Why does a continent with everything owe so much to people who have nothing it needs? You were told the answer was corruption. You were told the answer was bad leadership. You were told Africans simply cannot manage money. Tonight, I am going to show you a different answer. An answer written in contracts, in loan agreements, in conditions attached to money. Because the poverty you see across Africa is not an accident. It is not a failure. It is a structure, and the structure has a name. You are watching Historic Capital. This is the dossier on the debt trap. Stay with me. Let me show you how the trap is built. It begins with a loan. A poor country needs money, maybe for roads, maybe for electricity, maybe to pay an older debt. Then two institutions step forward, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, both headquartered in Washington, D.C., both created in 1944 at a meeting in Bretton, New Hampshire, a meeting where only 44 countries were present. Almost no African nation was independent yet. Africa did not write these rules. Africa inherited them. Now here is how the system works. The IMF does not simply give you money, the IMF attaches conditions, and those conditions have a name: structural adjustment. According to the IMF's own published framework, a country receiving support is often required to do specific things: cut government spending, remove subsidies, devalue the currency, privatize public companies, open the economy to foreign goods, reduce protections for local industries. On paper, these are called reforms, but watch what happens in reality. Stay with me. When a government cuts spending, it cuts hospitals, it cuts schools, it cuts the salaries of teachers and nurses. When a government removes subsidies, fuel becomes expensive, food becomes expensive, transport becomes expensive. When a government devalues its currency, every citizen becomes poorer overnight. And when a government privatizes public assets, those assets are often sold to foreign buyers at very low prices. The conditions do not build the country, the conditions open the country. This is not theory, this already happened. Let me open the files. File 1. The 1980s. Across Africa, dozens of countries accepted structural adjustment programs. Nigeria, Ghana, Zambia, Kenya, Senegal. The promise was growth, economic recovery, modernization. But according to economists and institutions including the United Nations, the result for many countries was the opposite. The 1980s and 1990s became known as Africa's lost decades. Incomes fell, public health systems weakened, factories closed, debt did not shrink, debt grew. Now open file 2, Zambia and copper. Zambia is one of the largest copper producers in the world. Copper is inside every phone, every electric car, every power line. Zambia should be wealthy, but under decades of debt pressure and privatization conditions, major copper assets passed into foreign ownership. Then in 2020, Zambia became the first African country to default on its debt during the pandemic era. A country sitting on copper could not pay its bills. Now bring it home, Nigeria. Look at your own country. According to Nigeria's Debt Management Office, as of March 2025, Nigeria's total public debt stood at 149 trillion naira, about 97 billion US dollars. Now here is the number that should stop you. According to Nigeria's own budget office, in 2024, Nigeria spent 69% of all government revenue just servicing debt. 69%. Out of every 100 naira earned, 69 naira went straight back out to creditors. And in 2023, the figure was even worse, 78%. Now listen carefully. The IMF and the World Bank themselves say a developing country should not spend more than 30 to 40% of revenue on debt service. Nigeria is at 69%, almost double the limit set by the same institutions that issued the loans. So ask yourself the question, if 69 naira out of every 100 goes to debt, what is left for hospitals? What is left for schools? What is left for roads? What is left for you? And remember the naira. When the currency was devalued from around 460 to over 1,500 naira to the dollar, Nigeria's foreign debt did not get smaller. In naira terms, it became heavier. According to budget, the devaluation alone added trillions of naira to the cost of Nigeria's external debt. Nigeria did not borrow that extra money. The currency move created it. This is the trap. The money leaves every year. It flows out of Nigeria to creditors in Washington, in London, in Paris, in Beijing. And what stays behind is you paying for it. This is the file. Now let me show you why the trap never truly opens. Why countries cannot simply pay and walk away. The system is protected by 3 locks. Lock 1, the currency. When a country devalues its currency as part of a loan condition, its debt becomes harder to repay because the debt is owed in dollars, but the country earns in local currency. So when the local currency weakens, the same debt becomes heavier. The country must now sell more oil, more cocoa, more copper just to repay the same loan. The debt does not shrink. The country simply runs faster to stay in the same place. Now lock 2, the new loan. When a country struggles to repay an old loan, it is often offered another loan to service the previous one. According to international debt researchers, this cycle is common. New debt to pay old debt. The country is never truly free. It is only refinanced. Now lock 3, the credit rating system. 3 Western companies, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch, help determine the credit ratings of African countries. If a country resists conditions, its rating can fall. And when the rating falls, borrowing becomes more expensive. Investment slows down, pressure increases. So the country learns to obey, not because it agrees, but because resistance is punished. 3 locks: the currency, the refinancing cycle, the credit rating. Together, they make the trap permanent. The country is not in debt by accident. It is in debt by design. Now step back and look at the bigger picture. Africa is not poor. Africa is rich. But Africa does not control the terms of its own wealth. The minerals leave, the crops leave, the oil leaves, and the money used to repay borrowing leaves too. What stays behind is the debt. This is the part they rarely say out loud. A continent can be rich in the ground and poor in the hand. That is not a contradiction. That is the design. Now understand this clearly. This is not about hating any nation. It is not about race. It is about a structure. A structure built in 1944 before most of Africa was free that Africa was never invited to design. The institutions will say they are helping, and some of the people inside them truly believe that. But good intentions inside a bad structure still produce the same result. The result is measured in hospitals not built, in schools not funded, in young Africans leaving the continent to search for a future somewhere else. The debt is not just financial. The debt is the future, paid forward to someone else. And the pattern is always the same. Africa's wealth flows out, the cost stays behind. And ordinary people are told it is their fault. But it is not their fault. It is a structure, and a structure, once you can see it, can be changed. If this dossier opened your eyes, share it with one person who still believes Africa is simply poor. And before we close this file, I want to ask you something. You have probably noticed the way these investigations are changing. The late-night drives, the walks through European cities, the movement through real streets while we follow the money together. Does this make the investigations feel more immersive? Does it help you feel closer to the story? Let me know in the comments. Because Historic Capital is evolving into something bigger. Not just documentaries, but investigations moving through the real world. And the next file goes even deeper. The mineral agreements, the extraction contracts. Who signed them? Who benefited? What Africa gave away? And what ordinary people received in return? Subscribe, because we are only getting started. You are watching Historic Capital. The truth is in the transactions. Follow the money.